BBC News, hello, I'm Eileen McHugh. Israel's military has struck an ambulance in Gaza City it said was being used by Hamas fighters near battle lines. In a statement, it said a number of fighters had been killed. Speaking to the BBC, an Israeli government spokesperson, Eylon Levy, justified Israel's action.
Of course, under international law, all ambulances must enjoy protection, and part of that protection is they must not be used by combatants, especially not by terrorists, in order to transport terrorists and weapons, and in that case, they may lose their protection. In this case, the army says that it identified that ambulance was being used by Hamas terrorists in a way that posed a risk to troops, and therefore they targeted it.
Earlier, the Hamas-run health ministry has said Israel had targeted a convoy of ambulances in 2 different places, including outside the Al-Shifa hospital. It said dozens of people had been killed or wounded. The ministry had earlier said the convoy would be transporting critically wounded Palestinians to the southern border with Egypt. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said there will be no break in the fighting in Gaza until all of the hostages seized from southern Israel by Hamas last month are released. He was speaking after talks with the visiting US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. The Biden administration has said it believes the war between Israel and Hamas is being contained and any broader regional conflict has been deterred. The Pentagon Press Secretary, Patrick Ryder, was commenting on Friday's speech by Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group, who refrained from announcing any escalation, though he did warn Israel to stop attacking Gaza. General Ryder told the BBC that the US would prioritise re-establishing stability in the region.
It has been a key focus for our government and for our Department of Defense to prevent this from becoming a broader regional conflict. This is why we have deployed additional capabilities to include 2 U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups into the region to provide us with a variety of options and capabilities should we need to respond to a whole range of contingencies.
At least 50 people are reported to have been killed in an earthquake in western Nepal. The shallow quake of magnitude 5.6 hit the remote hill district of Jajarkot, west of Kathmandu. Here's our South Asia regional editor, Ambrasan Etirajan.
The region is remote and information is still trickling in. The number of casualties is likely to go up. 3 more tremors were felt within an hour, and many people are spending the rest of the night in the open, fearing further quakes. Strong tremors were felt in Kathmandu and in Indian cities including Delhi. Nepal was hit by a devastating earthquake in 2015 in which about 9,000 people were killed and many more thousands were injured.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. The United States has announced a new package of military aid for Ukraine worth up to $425 million. In a statement, the Biden administration again called on Congress to pass additional funding to help Ukraine defend itself against what it called Russia's brutal war of choice. Danny Eberhard reports.
This latest package includes laser-guided munitions to counter Russian drones. There's also rockets for air defence systems and HIMARS artillery, as well as anti-tank missiles and anti-personnel mines. The White House has said it's sending smaller military aid packages to Ukraine to ensure support is stretched out while efforts to resolve the stalemate in Congress continue. The Biden administration wants Congress to approve emergency spending worth £85 billion in a single bill that would combine aid for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan.
President Joe Biden has met families and victims of a mass shooting in the US state of Maine. He and the First Lady, Jill Biden, laid flowers at a memorial for the victims. 18 people were killed and 13 injured in the city of Lewiston when Robert Card, a US Army reservist, opened fire at a bar and a bowling alley. A US federal appeals court has paused a partial gag order against former President Donald Trump in the federal court case over his alleged attempts to interfere with the results of the 2020 presidential election. The appeals court said the gag order would be paused while its legality was considered. Croatia's foreign minister has been criticised after attempting to kiss his German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock, at a ministerial summit in Berlin. While the pair shook hands ahead of a group photo, Gordon Gerlich-Radman appeared to move to kiss Miss Baerbock on the lips, but she turned her head so that instead the pair bumped cheeks. He's now apologised. BBC News.